Hey, what's up? It is Toni. Welcome to the Before the Pop podcast. I am excited as always about today's guest. So we've had real estate, we've had my husband, we've had music. Today, we're going to have something different. I'm talking to Chef Jolie. Hey, girl, hey.
Hey.
So if y'all don't know who Chef Jolie is, first of all, let's talk about this first. Let's knock this out the way. Chef Jolie has a YouTube channel that I was on. When was that?
I feel like that was in the summer.
It was in
last summer.
Yes, it was in the summer. She has a show. What is the name of the show?
It's called At Home with Chef Jolie.
At Home with Chef Jolie. She had me on and taught me how to make lamb chops.
Yeah.
And they were bomb. So y'all gotta go subscribe to her channel. You know what's crazy is I was at an event for my daughter.
Okay.
And somebody walked up to me and said, I know you. I've been looking at you from across the room all day. And they was like, you're not gonna guess where I know you from. And I was like, where? They were like, I saw you on Chef Jolie's cook.
Girl,
I was like, what?
it.
I said, I was never gonna guess that. They was like, I learned how to make lamb chops.
You lying.
I promise.
You lying
I
in
promise.
here today.
I promise. It blew me off. I was like, because
Oh my
I'm used to people asking me about, like they see me on my YouTube channel or know me through John. It threw me for a loop.
Wow.
I was like, it was bomb. And they was like, yes, I made the lamb chops. It was like, I think I overcooked them a little bit. I was like, this is crazy. Yes.
Do you know my mother, she lives in South America. She lives in Guyana.
Mm-hmm.
And she just told me that she was showing someone my YouTube channel in South America. And the person said, oh, I watch Chef Jolie all the time. She starts every episode with a cocktail.
See? Oh my God. Yeah, this world, man, this social media stuff makes the world this big. That's so amazing. So amazing. So let me tell you how the first time I heard about you.
Okay.
Or the first time I met you, it was probably 17 years ago. Because you've been in business for how long?
15 years.
15 years. Mm-hmm. So it was probably about 17 years ago.
Really?
It was at this girl Brandy's house.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. So it was at this girl's Brandy's house. You made the food there, which was a million years ago. I completely let me tell you who remembered. My husband remembered.
Okay.
So my husband was opening, y'all met him before. My husband was opening his another office for his title company. And we were looking for chefs. And this girl named Tisha Holman was like, we got to go talk to Chef Jolie. And I was like, okay. So we did the tasting.
Right.
Bomb. I was impressed, like, with just how you did the whole, because sometimes people just kind of like, and this is because we went to a couple.
Okay.
And all tastings are not created equal, right? Yours was very attention to detail, pretty, all of this stuff, right? So I was like, oh, it's so cute. Hopefully it tastes good. So first of all, it was incredible. And so I went home, I was like, I found the chef. This is what we're going to do. I was like, and she got this bomb tea. He remembered the tea from 17 years before.
The Georgia peach tea.
The Georgia peach baby.
Do it every time.
Do it every, it's like, and then when we have it, so Chef Jolie has done Christmas for me, Thanksgiving for me. The kids love all the food, but the thread that happens every time is, can you get some more of that tea? They love the tea. So thank you so much for coming on.
You're welcome.
I'm so excited to have this conversation because you doing like stuff, like big stuff. So let me ask you this. How many events do you cater a year?
Oh my goodness. A few hundred, if not more. Definitely a couple hundred weddings a year. So not including corporate events, private parties, quinceañeras, all the things. Funerals.
Oh my God. Really? Mm-hmm. So that's a whole lot of daggone events.
It is.
So there's so I'm trying to think of how I want to ask you this.
Just ask.
So here's the thing. I'm always curious about why people choose food, because I'm not gonna lie, that is not my ministry. I don't like cooking at all.
Okay.
Like I don't know if it's because I can cook a little bit, but that's just not. I don't have fun cooking. Right. I don't know if it's because I feel like I'm always in a rush, and so I'm cooking everything on high and burning up stuff and stick. You know what I mean? I don't know if that's what it is, or I don't know. So when people cook, and the food is good, and they have a passion for it long enough to do it for 15 years, I'm like, how? So why food? When did you start cooking? First of all, because was your mom a jamming cook?
Did you say, was she a what? Come again, say what?
So she wasn't jamming?
Not at all.
Really? Is it, so how did you, like, what made you get into cooking if she couldn't cook?
Because she couldn't cook. And if I needed to live,
right,
I needed to learn how to cook so I could eat to survive. But my grandparents, though.
Got it.
Both of my grandparents were in the culinary industry.
Got it. Okay.
So my family's from Charleston, South Carolina, which is considered the Low Country.
Low Country cuisine, yes.
That's why the company's called Low Country Cuisine. Cuisine with a Q.
Yes.
Queen of Southern Gourmet.
Hey, listen, look.
But when I would go home, and I consider the Low Country my home, my mom moved to Atlanta, which is 4 hours away. So, and my father is also from Charleston. So every spring break, every summer, Christmas, Easter, anytime we were out of school for more than 2 days, we were going home to be with grandparents and, visit my family. And when I would go, they cooked every meal, breakfast, lunch, dinner. We very rarely would eat out. And so when I would come back to Atlanta and my mom had something in the crock pot or some hamburger helper, I would get on the phone with my grandparents and just say, tell me how you make this.
Really?
Yep. And so that cooking became my responsibility because it's just two of us, my sister and I. I'm 6 years older than her. And so my mom was working full-time, getting her master's full-time. My stepfather worked full-time. So that was my responsibility to plan the menus for the week. And when I was of driving age, I would plan the menus, go grocery shop. And we used to have to literally, y'all, put the menu, or not we, me.
Right.
We used to have to post the menu like on the side of our pantry so that my mom would know that I had a plan for what we were going to eat while she was working. So that just became a chore, but I loved it because I was not eating my mother's food.
It must have been bad. Was it just that it was like not, I mean, I guess coming from your grandparents' house.
Exactly.
I'm still stuck on breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Because in the pandemic, I was like,
what we gonna make today?
What we gonna make? That's one of the hardest decisions every day. And then when everybody, no, I don't like that. Yes, I love that. That's just too much for me. So you planned the menu. How old were you when you were doing that?
I probably started when I was about 14 or so. I probably cooked my first meal when I was probably 10 or 11. Meal. The first thing I ever made was pancakes. And my mom thought that was difficult when I asked. She was like, I don't even know how to make pancakes. You gonna make pancakes? All right, try. And my grandmother used to make pancakes for us all the time for breakfast. And so I made them and she was like, wow.
Because I'm sitting here like, wow. Like I know how to make, my husband can make some bomb pancakes. I'm more of a waffle. I need the light to show. Like pancakes, I can do them, but it's like not my jam, right? Dang, that's impressive. 14?
This was like when I was like 10 or 11, the first time I made pancakes. But by the time I was 14, 15 is when I started planning the menu, what we were going to eat. And then my mom would take us to the grocery store. We would, get the ingredients and then I would cook. But then when I learned how to drive and got my license, I would go and do the grocery shopping and cook.
And set everything up. So how do you did you do the college thing, the college experience and all of that stuff? Did you go to college?
Oh, yes.
Got it. What did you go to college for?
Marketing and communications.
Got it. So that's because I'm fascinated by that too. Because most people it's like, okay, I'm going to college, I'm gonna go for this, but I'm gonna do something completely different, right? Which is dope though. Like, so how did you get did you work in corporate America?
I did for 10 years.
Did you doing what?
Before I started sales. I was in outside sales for 10 years. I worked for 2 different companies before I started my company. But I'm still in sales. I'm still marketing. So it's the same thing.
You are still in sales. So how did you go from corporate.
Mm-hmm.
The better question is, how did you have faith enough to go from corporate to I'm gonna cook? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like for a full time, like where did that come from?
I was on drugs. No, I'm just kidding.
No, for real, because I'm like, do some explaining, like for real, like.
You know, when I think, if I thought about it like I think about it now, I probably would have never did it.
Really?
Then I didn't have any fear. I didn't know what I was really signing myself up for. But my mom was an entrepreneur, and she always taught that in our house. Like, find something that you love doing that you would do for free and find a way to make a living at it, and you'll never work another day in your life. That's not completely true. However, the work feels less like work when you are passionate about what it is that you're doing. So I always knew that I would become an entrepreneur of some sort. I thought maybe I would have a marketing or PR company. I thought that.
Okay.
Then I thought maybe I would have a fashion show company because I produced fashion shows in college.
Okay.
And I liked doing those things, but it just didn't catch. And then a friend of mine was like, can you cater my graduation party? She was getting her master's. And I was like, and we kind of talked about catering, she and I, a little bit. And it was just like a thing in the back of my head. And I was like, what? Cater? I was like, I'm not ready. And she was like, yes, you are. I was like, no, I'm not. I don't even know what to charge, blah, 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 blah. She was like, well, let me just pay for the food and we'll go from there. And I was like, yeah, I'll write the menu. I'll tell you what it costs, and whatever change is left over after I buy the food, then I'll keep the change.
Okay.
So I probably got paid like $10 for my for my first event.
Right.
But people went crazy over the food. Like,
do you remember what the menu was?
It was low country food, because my initial menu consisted of things that I ate growing up.
Got it.
And I really felt like people needed to know what the food of the Low Country is, because people always talk about New Orleans Cajun Creole food. But before Cajun and Creole food became what it was, there was Low Country food that stemmed from West African food because of all the West Africans that were brought to this country.
Got it.
About 84% of the enslaved Africans that were brought here first were brought to the shores of coastal South Carolina, Charleston.
What?
Yes. So
I never knew that.
Yes. So soul food, Southern food stems from South Carolina. But for reasons that we can talk all day about, that food doesn't get its shine as much.
Yes.
They kind of skip all over it and go right into jambalaya. And before jambalaya was jambalaya, it was red rice, what we eat in the Low Country. And before it was red rice in the Low Country, it was jollof rice.
Okay, I've heard about jollof rice. Yes.
In West Africa. So my menu was based on that. Like, I did red rice. We do a lot of seafood because we're in the coast. So I have this shrimp salad that I used to make for friends all the time for events.
Okay.
And some other stuff. But people came from out of town for her graduation party. And they were like, oh, can you come to Houston and cater? I didn't even have business cards or anything or a menu. And so I was looking at my husband. I was like, oh my God. I was like, people like the food. I was so nervous. And I asked my mom, I remember saying, like, what if they don't like my food? She was like, girl, people pay for food that don't taste good.
All the time.
I know. And
but
when she first said that, it did not make sense to me because I don't do that. If it don't taste good, I don't want it.
Yes, right, exactly. You for sure don't want nobody paying you for food. You should be like, no, I don't. Yes.
Yeah, but people loved it. And so my husband and I were engaged. Okay. And so I was working a good job on them people job, making good money. And after we got married, shortly after, I got pregnant with my daughter. Mm-hmm. And so here and there, I was catering things for people, while I was working. And I was just like, just doing this on the weekend, I'm not going to,
see
grow.
Yes.
So when I was out on maternity leave, my mom was here with me. And I was just like, how can I do this? Like, how can I go from just doing it on the weekends and on side hustle to making it what I envisioned it to be.
Yes.
And so my mom was like, well, the best thing would be is if you got laid off from your job and got a severance package and unemployment and you can figure it out.
Right.
And would you know, probably, I don't know, it's been so long. Maybe it was a week, maybe it was a month after that. While I was on maternity leave, they called a company-wide conference call. It wasn't Zoom at that time.
Right. But it was everybody on the phone dialing in.
Yeah, dialing in
right.
on the conference call.
Right.
And this was 2009. Okay. So remember what the economy did around that
the
time.
Housing, all of that stuff. Yes.
All that stuff. So they downsized at my corporate job. And they had meetings with everybody to come in. And my mom was like, you better go in there and tell them you just had a baby. You don't know how you feel. And that somebody else could have your opportunity. And I did that. And they gave me a severance. And I told my husband, I said, give me 12 to 18 months to figure this out. And I haven't looked back.
That's amazing. So was your husband like, okay? Or was he like, okay?
The second one.
Got it.
Because he is I'm analytical too, but he studied finance and accounting. Oh, God. And so he was looking at our bank account. Yes. And he was like, how you gonna do this? And I was like, I do not know. I'm going to figure it out.
He like, you know how many pieces of shrimp you got to sell for us?
Right. Exactly. Right. So, it sounds easy like we were talking about.
Yes.
But there were some trials and tribulations, and I just kept moving forward. Somebody gave me a piece of advice. They said, no matter what, just keep moving forward. And so that was in the back of my head. Like whenever something would happen, like I would feel it for a minute. But I was like, either I can go backwards or I could just go a little bit forward.
Little inch.
A little bit forward. And
that's what it, so do you remember, how did you get so that's your first client, right?
Mm-hmm.
Your friend?
Yeah.
How did you get your first big client? Like, were you like, where you went home and was like, babe, they gonna pay me? You know what I mean? Like, do you remember who that was? You don't have to say the exact person if you don't feel comfortable doing that. But do you remember?
I remember my first 5-figure client. And it's a crazy story. It was before I had my own commercial kitchen. I used to rent a kitchen at nights and weekends, right? And so I don't even remember how this girl found me, but she was a bride getting married. And I think her wedding catering it was 10,000 plus, right? Mm-hmm. And I was shooketh. The fact that she hired me, because at this point, I don't have a kitchen. I don't have a storefront or anything. Like, I think I was on a list at a venue or something, and we had a tasting at the restaurant where I used to rent the kitchen. And she was like, okay, we'll hire you. Just like, pay the deposit.
Yay.
Right.
Like, okay, what we gonna do?
Yes, and I was excited, but I was so nervous, Toni. I was so nervous. I want to say she had maybe 150, 200 guests, and I had never cooked for that many people at one time. And the venue didn't have a kitchen. So, right.
So I'm sorry, not to cut you off.
Go ahead.
What was, so you said she had 200 people. Yeah. What was the gap? What was the difference, the number gap between your last event and then that event? Was it like, probably I only catered for 25 people to?
Probably like somewhere between 25 and 50 people.
Oh.
Right.
Exactly. Got it.
But remember, I was in sales. And
got it. You like, yeah. You like, now what we going to get out of this chicken or whatever it is.
It was chicken.
Wow. So you remember the menu on that?
I remember the chicken. I think it was mac and cheese and some vegetable. I mean, it was very basic.
Got it.
But leading up to that, I did not realize how stressed and high strung I was about it. Literally the day, and we used to rent cars and vans to carry the food. And so literally the Sunday after the wedding, we took the van back, unloaded all the stuff, came home. My daughter Cadence was about to be 2. And on Sundays is when I would always wash her hair. So I'm upstairs washing her hair. And all of a sudden, I start feeling like really weird, like just weird in my head. And so I send Cadence downstairs. And then all of a sudden, my heart just starts like beating really fast. And so I'm like, what is this? So I go downstairs and my husband Nick is doing something in the kitchen. And I was like, I can't hold my arms up. Like, I couldn't lift my arms up. He was like, why not? And I was like, I don't know. I can't lift my arms. Then I started like melting into the ground, like literally melting into the ground.
Like,
exactly. And then I felt like I was going into the ground, like under the ground.
Really?
And I remember Cadence being like this, mommy, mommy, mommy. And I was like, please don't let her see me like this.
Yeah, like as if this is it. I don't want this to be the last.
Exactly.
Yes.
And so he was like, you want me to call 911? I was like, no. And then I started going down again. I was like, yes. And so I was having a panic attack. And I had never had a panic attack before that moment. And then just what I know now about anxiety and panic attacks and my mom is a mental health therapist.
Oh, got it.
But we never talked about anxiety or panic attacks. Mm-hmm. And so what I know now is just like leading up to that moment. I had like so much into that moment that I was operating on anxiety and adrenaline. And when it was over, it was like,
yes, like a deflating the balloon, like,
yes.
Oh my God. I'm so glad you said that though. Mm-hmm. Nobody said, because a lot of people go through that. And when I say a lot of people, you know what I mean? Where you just kind of like, and I've never had the meltdown afterwards, but I've been in situations where you have like, this is the thing and this is, but you're so wound up so tight beforehand. It's like, oh my God, what if it, just where you can't even half enjoy it. And I know that I've missed a lot of opportunities because I feel so bad. I'm so overwhelmed and anxiety is so bad previous that I just run from it like, oh, no, I don't. Yeah, which is not, you got to do it afraid, but that's a real thing. And people need to know that that's a real thing.
Oh, yeah. And I'm happy that happened to me at the point in which it did because I started going, and I had been to therapy before in my childhood, like maybe once or twice, not anything normal.
Ongoing,
not like ongoing, that's the word I'm looking for. And so when I I took an ambulance ride. When this thing
when
happened.
You start melting down into the floor, it's like, get them here. Because if I can live, I want to live. Yeah,
exactly. And so I followed up with my doctor afterwards. And then he suggested a therapist. And so I went. And when I started talking about all these kind of like fears and anxiety I had about the 12 to 18 months I told my husband to give me to make this company a success and all these things. And we started talking through things. And I realized that I had anxiety for a long time, but I didn't know that's what it was. Like obsessing over what if.
Whoa, you ain't got to tell me.
Exactly.
And it's like, because I'm a big believer in therapy. It's like, your worst fears are seldom realized.
Exactly.
But it's like, but they feel so real.
Exactly.
Like, yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
And so you were able to prevent them moving forward.
Because I knew what it was. And I knew how I started getting the tools to like rationalize what was going on in my head and just say, you know what?
Like you good.
Yeah, chill out. Like you're tripping right now. Just control the things that you can control and the things that are out of your control. You can't control them.
You can't. And what can you like?
Nothing.
It's like, and I have this thing because I told my mom this. I was like, it's almost like I feel like if I worry about it, then it won't happen. Like, no that's not how that works.
Your peace.
Yeah, it does. And it's like, and then if in worst case scenario situations, you're gonna deal with it. If it comes, but it's probably not even gonna happen. Exactly. You know what I mean? So I'm so glad you said that because people do not talk about it openly in general. Like I'm feeling some kind of way. They just like, no, I'm good.
Exactly.
Just like girl, that wig look like it's about to fall off. You know what I mean? So it's like, that's good. That's really, really good. So when the 18 months got there, did it look like what you thought it would look like? Did it look better? Did it look worse? Did you have to say, okay, 3 more months? Or did you know what I mean? Like, what did that look like at the 18-month mark?
No, I did it. Because I was having to prove this thing to myself. Like I set this goal and I knew that I did not want to work for anyone else. And so it was like, by any means necessary, I have to make this happen. And so once I realized, okay, if I'm going to grow the company, not only can I not work for someone else, I cannot only have access to a commercial kitchen at night and on the weekends, because I have to get corporate business. And corporate business does not happen at night. I mean, it can. Yeah, but I meant that lunch, that breakfast.
Yes,
that daily business.
Yes.
So,
I'm sorry.
So I was like, I got to find a commercial kitchen. And so again, Nick was like, where you going to get the money from? I was like,
I'm going to get it.
I don't know. And you know what happened? My grandmother's brother, who not grew up, but as I was growing up, he never lived in South Carolina. He moved away, went into the military for like 30 years or something, and lived in Virginia.
Okay, where the base is, right? Probably.
Right. Uh-huh. And so he called me one day. He had his own business after retiring. He called me out of the blue. I think I invited him to my wedding because around this time, remember I said we were engaged. And so you know how you got to send that obligatory wedding invite?
Yes, like they probably ain't coming, but we gonna right.
Yeah, my grandmother's brother, I got to send them. Right. I think that invitation sometime later, put my name and me into his head. So he calls me and he's like, out of the blue, Cadence, I was wearing her like
in a sling.
Right.
Okay.
Making crab cakes for an event. And so he calls, I hear you got a business down there. And I was like, making my crab cakes.
yeah, kind of, baby, hollering in the back.
I was like, yeah. He was like, so that's real good. This is how he talks.
Right. He's military. Right,
yes,
right.
That's real good. It's good to see somebody in the family, doing some good things. I got my own business too. And I was like, yeah, I heard. He was like, what if I invested? I was like, in my company? And I'm on the phone telling Nick. Because he had already asked me, how you going to do this?
Yeah.
Out of the blue, the phone call comes. And I was like, okay.
right. Like, maybe. Okay. Right.
So he was like, how much would you sell me 25% of your business for? And so I don't know nothing about investing and all of that. And I was like, well, I don't know. He was like, you need to get a valuation on your business. And I was like, well, what is that? So we got off the phone. I started doing some research. I'm the queen of Google.
Yes.
Yeah, so I'm started Googling. I went to the Small Business Development Center too, and I said, hey, this is what's going on. How do I do this? And really, there's no exact science to valuing a business. So I had to do it based on like what equipment I have. I was like, I got some Schaefer's.
Got these forks and they're putting forks out, babe. Like, yes, really?
I got some platters. So whatever $7,500 is what I told him 25% was. So y'all do the math.
Right.
So $30,000, I guess I told him is what I thought my business was worth at that time.
Right.
But $7,500 was a lot.
Listen,
I ain't have nothing in the bank.
And your husband just asked you, now, where you gonna get the money from? You like, I don't know.
So that helped us like rebrand, relogo, do the website. And I did like this big tasting party, and I invited like all the event planners and stuff. And I paid an event planner to plan the thing for me so I could focus on the food. And about 100 people came because, again, I'm in marketing and sales. So I was able to make it look like something that you needed to be at. And they actually showed up.
Oh, my God.
And they came. And so the referral started from there. Then I was like, okay, how am I going to move in this commercial space? So when I left corporate America.
Corporate America.
Madeira. When I left corporate America, I guess my husband's family felt sorry for him. He's the only child. It was like, he done married this lady and she done had a baby and left her job. So they started giving us a little supplement to our income every month. And so I was like, do you think your parents will invest? And he was like, I don't know. You can ask him. So I put together a little presentation and they were like, they didn't just say yes. Right. But they were like, this is going to be, Nick, I'm sorry, I'm telling your business.
Look, the people need to hear it. Yes. Thank you, Nick. Thanks for letting us tell it.
They were like, his parents, his dad more so was like, well, this is just going to be some of your inheritance that you're getting now.
You'd be like, okay.
And I was like, dang, that's precious.
You be like, don't, like, oh God.
But give it here.
Right. I need it. I'm trying to, wow.
Exactly. And so between that first 7,500, they helped me get in front of those 100 event planners and stuff. And then I went back to my uncle and said, okay, that went well. Now I need a space. So I need 25% of what it costs to get in this space from you. And then I sold 25% to my in-laws. So it's like, for this investment, I'm going to, just like Shark Tank.
Yeah.
That's what I'm going to give you. So they gave me the money and they was like, this is it.
Make it work. Like
pretty much.
Like, right, okay.
We got you in the door. It's up to you to keep the lights on. So
got it.
Yeah.
Ooh, that sounds like another melt in the floor situation. Like,
but I knew what the melt in the floor was.
You were like, oh, I ain't doing, yeah. So that's bomb. Because most people don't have they come up with this stuff. They ain't got no uncle. They don't have anybody. You know, they don't have anything to invest in. So it's such a blessing to have somebody, even if they was like, you barely want, you know what I mean? It's the fact that it was there and they offered it.
And it wasn't a ton of money. Like,
but it was more than what you had.
It was definitely more than what I had. And because my husband and I were 50% owners, we had to, you know, try to scrape up the rest. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah.
That's this is what I think. This is one of the things that sticks out to me about you. First, let me say that good work is important, right? Because if you were like raggedy or known to be raggedy,
right,
your in-laws for sure would have been like, child, I ain't fooling with that girl. Like, you know what I mean? If you were just, and one of my, I'm gonna be honest, and I've told people this several times. One of my proudest moments about the event that you catered for my husband's office was, I was essentially over everything. So I was a little nervous. You know what I mean? Like, you know, like, oh God, I'm spending all this money, whatever. But I used all Black and brown vendors.
Before it was, fashionable.
Before it was fashionable. I used all Black. And when I tell you Low Country Cuisine came in and turned that mother out,
well,
I was so proud. You know what I mean? And it's bigger than, I think this is one of the things that people sometimes forget. It's 1 million people in this world that can cook.
Yeah.
It's bigger than just the cooking.
It is.
You know what I'm saying? It's the fact that everybody showed up. We didn't have a kitchen at the office, right? No. Y'all put together a whole little kitchen. I was like, let me look in there. they was bringing out fried chicken and waffles, and we had shrimp and the food was excellent. Everybody was like, who in the world did this food, right? It was the service. It was the attention to detail. It was the people, because at the end of the day, if it would have went bad, most people weren't going to say the workers were out of pocket. They were going to say Low Country Cuisine was out of pocket. Right. People don't even think, like, it wasn't her. It was, somebody that was there with, it's automatically on you, right? And so the people that you showed up with did everything in excellence. Because we did hand-passed hors d'oeuvres, like small hors d'oeuvres, hand-passed
small bites.
Small bites, yes. And then you guys did a breakfast setup for us that morning. You might not even remember that. Yes, you did a breakfast setup. And when I was like, well, because when we talked about it, you were like, yeah, we'll just do a little, and I was like, okay, cool. So I'm thinking I'm going to get, I don't know what I was thinking. I should have known it wasn't going to be that. I'm like, they're going to have some little donut boxes. It was set up so to the degree that I was like, it's so much. You under promised and over delivered. And you just did what you said you were going to do, but you put a little juice on it, on top of it. And I was so proud about that, because I was like, dude, that stuff matters. And people think, what my cousin cooked better than her, my auntie could. It's like, yeah, but she gonna get there. It's like, or they look at the price list and be like, girl, my cousin can do it cheaper than this. Okay, if y'all eat on time and if it's warm and if it's all the things, right?
And if it's safe to eat.
You pay for what, you know what I'm saying? You get what you pay for, right?
Right.
So all of that stuff is stuff that you had to learn over time. Because here's another thing I was impressed with, and I'm always impressed with every person that does this well is y'all didn't run out of food. Mm-hmm. Everything that came out was hot.
Right.
And I'm like, well, how are they doing this? Like, it's just a phenomenon to me. Like, is that something that you learned over time, or was that a skill that you picked up when you were 14, like over time? Like, this is how you get the chicken, the sides, all at the same time and they're warm, or did you learn that over time?
So
after you were in business, should I say?
Yes, and I would say that some of it comes from my previous careers, like being in sales and marketing. Like, what you put out, it has to be something that grabs people's attention, and you have to create an experience. And so a lot of times I think about what I want to feel, what I want to taste, what I want to see, what I want to smell when I go somewhere, whether it's to eat, whether it's a hotel, whether it is, on a plane. Like, I want to feel luxurious, right?
Yes.
And so that's what I want my clients to feel too. I want them to have an experience. So just having that mindset from the marketing part of my brain and having things look very nice, there's that part. But then, of course, just through experience and doing events, learning how to do things better. And I didn't go to culinary school. So when I started the catering company, it was Google and, going to conferences and learning that way. But I had some great people who've worked with my company that had more experience than me. So I learned from everybody. I don't care if it's a dishwasher. I don't care if it's a delivery driver. Everybody's going to bring something. I hope to hire people that bring something to the table that I can learn from, because I don't know everything. If I did, then my payroll would be like this, because I would just do everything myself.
Right.
Yeah. I hire people who know more than me about the thing that I hire them for. So
got it. That's dope. That's another good tidbit. Like, because hiring is, listen,
ghetto.
It's it's so ghetto. It's like, how do and then me, it's like, I love people, right? I say this all the time. Mm-hmm. I love people. But as an adult, I've almost grown afraid of people, almost.
I understand.
Because it's like, but wait, everything was going so good. And then you just took this sharp left turn, and who are you? Like, I don't know what that is. I don't know if that's just.
They don't go to therapy and work out their issues before they come on your job.
Listen, it's like,
They bring it to work.
Yes. It's like, or a friend, it's like, like, where did this come from? So it's made me kind of like, hey, like,
hesitant to open up. And
yes. And I don't want to be that way. What has been your biggest obstacle, you think, that you've had to overcome, that you overcame?
Aside from the whole lack of capital for people who look like us, aside from that, that's another thing we can have a whole part two to this podcast about.
Yes.
Aside from that, I would say yes. Finding the right people to put in the right position has definitely been a huge obstacle. And I would say after COVID, it has become worse. Because people's expectation about working and their, what they experienced during COVID really changed the workforce. So that's been hard. And we talked a little bit before we got started that I had a light bulb moment this year as I hired an executive chef, because my vision right now is to step away from the daily operations of my company and grow my YouTube channel and develop my seasoning line to
and we're going to talk about that too.
Yeah, lots of varieties in the line. So in order to do that, I need to have someone take over as executive chef. And so this last person that I was hoping was going to be the person to help me get my second foot out the door just turned out to not be what I thought they were going to be. And so the light bulb moment was that, you know what? I've struggled to find this person to take over in this position, not because there's something wrong with me per se. I'm not saying I'm perfect.
No, right. I get that, yeah.
But I have had the tenure in my company, in my kitchen, is 7-8 years, right? And my company's been around 15 years, 11 or 12 years full time. So I've had people that have stayed with me, that have left and went to college and came back and worked
Wow.
full time. Right.
That says a lot.
Right. But what the ding, ding, ding moment was that being in a male dominated industry, and I'm a female and I'm a Black female, and hiring is mostly men that apply for this executive chef position. And they start off, yeah. But then when I have to start being the boss,
they're like, no.
Yeah. Yes. No. Because, and I'm like, dang, okay, this is tough for some men.
Right. Right.
And it has to be the right person that sees this opportunity and wants to, grow with the company. And I'm not asking you to retire at Low Country Cuisine.
Right.
Right. Help me build the team, build the bench. So if you want to go open a restaurant, maybe I'll invest in your restaurant.
That's what I'm saying. You have to have the right perspective about the whole situation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so that's what I have realized. It's a big obstacle, finding that right key player and other, positions in the company, finding good people. It's tough.
It is tough because it's, because what I've learned just through my husband's company is half of it is managing personalities.
And that is draining. And that's what makes you and me just kind of like want to shut off from people and dealing with more personalities when you get off work. Because it's like, you've had to be diplomatic all day and listen to everybody and not be harsh and all of these things. And so by the time you I don't have energy
for nothing crazy,
nothing
foolish,
crazy. Yes.
Like just do right,
just be regular, be balanced,
regular. Like
be
I'm
balanced.
not saying be perfect because God knows I'm not perfect.
Me either.
But just be regular.
Just be able to say, my bad. Let me work on that. Let me fix that.
Because you know what, and no, for real, because it's like anytime, and I'm probably almost to a fault, when something happens, I go inward like, oh God, did I do something? Like, what? You know what I mean? I always want, but some people just like, nah, it ain't me, it's you. Like all the time. Like, like, nah, how is I would, you know what I mean? It's just, it is. It does make you go inward. And I'm like, I don't want people to take away from who I really am because they're crazy.
Exactly.
I don't like that feeling.
It's a struggle.
It is very much so a struggle. So what do you think your biggest mistake was in business?
I would say not letting people go the moment that they show that they should have been shown the door.
Good one. That's a good one.
Trying to, because I come from this my mom used to call me Pollyanna. Like I was just a big dreamer and, starting a catering company. I got an idea. I think I can do it. Yes. Right? And so that's the way I looked at people. Just like, okay, they messed up, but let me try to talk to them and let me see and blah, 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 blah. And no, some things you just gotta hire slow, fire fast. So
that's some good. And it sounds like harsh, but not really though.
It's business. It's not personal.
It is business, and it's something that you do have to. I'm telling you, I've learned just so much through the process. Because what happens is, from my vantage point, it's like when you do they just made a mistake. Now you done really tore some stuff up. You know what I'm saying? Because you mad or you don't. It's like, now I got to go back and undo and figure out who you didn't say. You know what I mean? All of this stuff just because I was trying to be nice to you.
Yeah, and that they're not going to see it the same way. No. They're not going to be nice to you when you think that you deserved some grace or something. Not. So, and I'm not saying, fire somebody for that reason.
No.
But you know what I'm saying?
I get exactly what you're saying. There's balance in anything that we're saying in this conversation. Okay. But you do have to be able to. I always tell my son, when we're talking about different stuff, or my friends, when we're talking about business stuff, I'm like, man, all the people that we admire most that are doing great things have the ability to make the hard decisions.
Yeah. And it sucks.
Yeah. It's like, but I don't want to be mean. Like, okay, don't.
No.
But you know what I mean? And it's not about being mean, but it's about making the best decision. Like you said, it's business.
Yeah.
And nothing else.
And I haven't fully mastered that 100%.
Yeah.
However, I recognize it a whole lot sooner than I used to, because I thought everybody was going to be the way I am.
The way
you know, I'm going to give 200% every single time. And everybody wasn't raised that way.
Got it. It is, and they're not. They're not. And it's like, hey, well, why you? And it's like, let me just, I mean, and some stuff you just can't teach.
Right. You got to walk through the door with that. You cannot teach integrity. You can't teach honesty. I can teach you how to cook. I can teach you how to make shrimp and grits. But if you a liar,
you can't do nothing with that.
I can't do nothing with that. If you have no integrity, if you say one thing, but when I turn my back, you do something else, I can't fix that. Like you got to go.
Yes.
Because I can't trust you at this point.
I cannot trust you. And who knows what else you're doing and what? Nah, I'm with you on that. Okay, so what advice would you give your younger self?
Ooh, child. I really wish that I knew more about what anxiety was, because even before I was a business owner, I think when I was a teenager, when I was a young adult, I spent a lot of time obsessing over the worst case scenario. All the time, like not sleeping. And I thought it was just nervous. You know what I'm saying? Something big is coming up.
Because that's what a lot of old schoolers say, like, girl, you know she made just like a, or whatever. It's like, no, it's something bigger. Yeah.
I wish I knew that. I wish I knew how meditation was helpful.
Ooh.
You know, I wish I knew how to manage my anxiety.
Do you think anxiety kept you from anything when you were younger? Like, or was it just, you lost some good sleep at night?
I think I just lost sleep. And even sometimes now, if something is tossing around in my head, I will lose sleep. But then I have to tell myself, take a deep breath, go to sleep. And I just literally will take a deep breath. And then next thing I know, I'm waking up.
See? And you know what's funny is because if I'm anxiety, my husband is the opposite. Like if I'm like, but what if he be like, I don't know, whatever it is, we'll figure it out tomorrow. He's gonna go to sleep. He's not gonna stress about it. He's gonna deal with it as it comes. But he's not, which is great because both of us couldn't be like me.
No, yeah.
But it's like, because I'll even say when I met your husband when we did the show, he seems to be so even keel.
I was gonna say,
and just lay back.
Same way. It gets on my nerves sometimes because I
like,
want to say, this is an issue. Do you not see this issue?
I mean, it's cool. Like we're gonna get it figured out. Like what? I need you to panic. Like that don't make no sense. But you know what I mean? It is. It's I guess you find who you need.
Yeah.
Right? And that works. Okay, so what would be your piece of advice that you would give people who have big dreams, no money? You know what I mean? And just what would you tell them?
Well, the first thing I would say, and I did this when I had no money, I attempted to figure out what it would cost to make my dream come true, so that I knew what goals to reach. Okay, if it's $100,000, okay, where do I get $10,000 from? Where do I get $20,000 from? So it's kind of like, if you just have this dream and you don't put anything down on pen and paper, like how are you going to actually get somewhere? You don't have a roadmap, like at all.
Yes.
So I would definitely say, try to figure out what it costs to do what it is that you want to do, and find ways to get that money. Luckily, in 2023, people who have capital to give, they're looking more at minorities, women, people of color. They're looking more. So that's something that was not out there when I started 15 years ago. Like I was begging, family and scraping up my own money.
Gosh.
And even when you first start, sometimes too, you go to a bank and they're like, well, you don't have any experience. Well, I can't get the experience because I don't have no money.
I ain't got the money.
Right. So, but yeah, definitely just figure out what it costs and start looking at ways to get a little bit at a time and get as much as experience under your belt as you can, even if it's like, doing stuff for friends and family, going to work for somebody else that is in the industry that you want to be in and learn. Like, I should have done that. I ain't do that.
You like, oh, we about to do on the job training, like just figure it out.
Reinventing the wheel a lot.
Yeah. So how long was it from the time you quit your job? And I know I'm going back a little bit, but the time you quit your job, well, not quit, but got laid off, right? You got this severance package to hold you over. How long was that to the time that your in-laws and your uncle invested?
Let's see. Cadence was born in 2009. You know, it wasn't a full year, because when I think about when I went from a sole proprietor to becoming an LLC, which was an advice that my uncle gave me, because I didn't know the difference. He was like, you need to get an LLC. You got an LLC.
Right.
And so that was 2010, January 2010. So it wasn't very long. And my husband told me something the other day. He was like, the Lord always working for you in mysterious ways, because I could literally say something or think something, and then
you're like,
it happens.
What you mean you got?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So it took, like, that was about a year.
Maybe 8 months or so.
So how far into the journey did you and your husband feel like, we got this, we good? We're not going, like, a realistic, like, where you like, okay,
yesterday? No, it was tough. Like, because my husband is, like I said, in finance and accounting. And I was not bringing home a paycheck. Like, especially when we moved into our commercial kitchen where we've been for 11 years now. Like, that overhead was like, I had overhead, but no customers yet, because I had events that I did, but those were in the past. I needed to get.
You were like, I need some in the front.
I needed some in the front, and I didn't have any in the front. So we were spending overhead, and I was building. So sometimes after I paid in my payroll at that time, I want that payroll back so bad.
Because back then you'd be like, oh my God, how am I gonna pay this $1,000? Like,
yes,
like, or whatever it was. Like,
it was like probably $2,500, $3,000 was the payroll at that time. Yes, and the payroll now is
not $2,500.
No, it ain't.
Yes,
it's 10 times that every 2 weeks. Gosh. So
yes,
yeah. So when in those days, whatever was left after I paid that $2,500 or $3,000, maybe I had $100 or so, but the company paid my gas, so I didn't have gas to pay to get back and forth. We did not have a car note. And I could bring food home from work. And my husband was like freaking out. Like, he was like, what did you sign us up for? And
you'd be like, I don't know.
I know. And in the beginning, he would always, when I was frustrated, he would say, be greater later. You be greater later. But at one point, I was like, what happened to be greater later?
He's like, it's later. And,
and it ain't greater.
It ain't greater.
Yeah. So it was, it was tough for a while. I would say probably realistically, maybe in 2016 or so, when I started at least bringing home $1,000 every 2 weeks. Like that.
Got it.
That kind of helped.
Yes.
Yes.
But it still wasn't like.
No.
So, and that's, again, folks, that's the whole point. I say this every week, but people have to understand that where you see a person in their highest, like where it's like, oh, they killing, is not where they started.
No.
It's not. I know the magic tricks of, the look and the smoke and mirrors and all of that stuff. I know all about that. And even I sometimes forget, like, they didn't start off right there. You gotta put in the time. You have to
grind.
And if you don't quit,
yes, that's the thing. Keep moving forward.
Because you absolutely could have quit. Like, yeah, you're right. I'm just gonna go back to work. But you like, nah. And now
I wanted to quit. And my mom used to say, well, could just go work for somebody else. And I'd be like, oh.
Like,
right.
this all you had to, I know, like, that's all you had to say. Right.
Let me put these big girl panties on and take a little step forward.
Yeah. Okay, so look, let me talk about this.
Okay.
So how did you come up with this? This is bomb, y'all. This is so bomb. This is her seasoning, a dab of do you. And it has, I told you this when I was on your show. It has all the things in it, right? So I feel like I feel like I know. I season with all the same stuff.
Yes.
Little Irish, you know what I mean? Whatever. And this gives it something different.
Yeah.
This is bomb. So when did you start your seasoning line, and what made you start it?
So from the first time I decided that I wanted to do this catering thing full time, for whatever reason, I envisioned myself like, do you know who B. Smith is?
Yes.
So I envisioned, like, I watched B. Smith back in the day.
Is bomb. She passed away a few years ago. Yeah.
And I thought about, I want to be the chocolate Martha Stewart. Like, I envisioned not just owning a catering company. I wanted food on the shelves. I wanted cookbooks. Like, that's what I envisioned. Yes. And I really thought that would happen. Like
in a weekend, like how it's a couple years out. Like, girl, that is not how that works.
No.
right.
So in 2020 is when the pandemic. You know, I had some time on my hands.
Gotcha.
But I used to purchase like different seasonings, and I used to make a blend of store-bought seasonings and make my own blend, and we called it our house seasoning at Low Country Cuisine.
Got it.
And so, people always talk about how good our food is, and it's like, this don't taste like catering food. What y'all put on this?
So good.
And so I was like, you know what? I need to formulate this seasoning and like make it a real formula.
Right.
And so during the time that I had off a few years ago, I just started playing around with the combination of seasonings. And then I was doing these before my YouTube channel. I was doing these Facebook and Instagram lives because everybody was at home. And so I came up with the formula, and you probably got my little ratchet label.
No,
you don't have that label, probably. I had the one that we made on the printer in the office.
But was it you on here like that?
It was me, but it didn't look nothing like that.
I'm trying to think. I don't know that I probably got them like,
girl, when you go home and look at it, you're gonna laugh.
Be like, I do have
you got the original. Keep it. It's gonna be worth some money.
Yes, yes.
But no, I was like, okay. So I was on the live, and I was like, okay, I have an announcement, everybody. I have my own seasoning.
Right.
Girl, before I went to bed, I had $1,000 in orders.
You like...
Hadn't even made a full batch. I just had the test batch. And my mom was staying with us during this time, right? And so she was like, what you gonna do?
You were like, I don't know.
I was like, I'm gonna make it. I'm gonna order. Like, we had already had the bottle to test. I was like, I'm gonna order some more bottles. We're gonna make some more labels. I know how to like have a recipe that's made for 10 and scale it up.
Yes.
I was like, I'm just gonna make it. And so she was like, what if they don't like it? Now she's saying that.
You be like, now you making me have
Now you're making me nervous. And so people were ordering it from outside of Texas. I think the furthest I shipped it during that time was Italy. People were buying it as gifts.
See?
And I was like, but really I thought the main thing about people who don't know how to cook is that they don't know how to season their food, right? And so they don't know what to put on the food. So if I can put everything that they need in one bottle, then like there's this one customer that we have that orders at least 3 bottles probably every 3 months.
Really?
He think he be cooking now. Like I always say, like we need a commercial with him. He is our most loyal customer because now he feels that he can cook.
And you can really kind of put it on anything.
You can. You can put it on fruit. My grandmother will eat it on peaches and watermelon.
I ain't never tried that.
Popcorn.
I ain't never tried that either.
Yep.
I'm going to be at home like, I love
And my mom came up with the name, A Dabba Do Ya. And at first I was like, I don't know. That sounds like Yabba Dabba Do. But I kept saying, a dabba do ya, a dabba do ya.
A dabba do ya.
And I was like, that pretty much says what I want this season to be.
Yes.
Just, this is what you need,
This is what you need, yes.
A dabba do ya. And people call it a dab. You got some dab.
That nickname. You got some of that dab. Yes, I love it. Because it takes courage to, I mean, everything that you've talked about today takes courage.
Yeah.
Right? It's then a seasoning that takes even, I mean, and it's about, you know, because a lot of the great things that we do, we have to believe in it before everybody else does. So you putting in money, you be like, I don't know whether they're going to like it or not, but we're going to go on and buy these bottles.
Exactly.
So I'm excited. I think I'm going to do something special with these. I haven't decided what it's going to be yet, but everybody needs to have some of this. So we're going to do this or that.
Okay.
You just pick whichever one.
Okay.
Okay. Chicken or beef?
Chicken.
Got it. Boiled eggs or fried eggs?
Boiled.
Really? Okay. Eat out or stay in?
Eat out.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
I ain't cooking nothing.
Okay. Stay up late or go to bed early?
Late.
Okay. And then what is your favorite, I don't even know how you say this. What is your favorite food genre? Like, is it you know what I mean?
What
would that be called?
Seafood. Like, what's your favorite cuisine?
Cuisine. Okay. Like, so Italian, Mexican, but you like seafood.
I love seafood.
What's your favorite seafood?
Oh my gosh. All of them. Anything that swim in the ocean. I like it. Crab, shrimp, lobster, fish.
Me too.
It's that low country.
It's the low country. So let me ask you this. I didn't ask you this. What is, since seafood is your favorite, what is a good piece of fish that people can cook at home and make it good every time? Because I feel, because listen, fish, unless it's in some grease, I don't really, like when I'm baking, it's like, oh, that ain't really that good. Like I can never really I steer clear of it because I really don't know what I'm doing. So what is a safe fish for non-cooks to cook and it's still good and they can put some dabadoo on there? And
without having to deep fry it?
Yes.
My favorite fish, and it's very easy to cook, is sea bass. It's not cheap.
Okay.
But if you're just making a couple of pieces for you and, whoever, you could probably, it's normally something like $30 a pound or so. Okay. So if you get a pound, and a serving is like 6 ounces, right? Okay. That's 12 ounces. A pound is 16 ounces.
Gotcha.
So if you get a pound, it's $30,
yeah,
right?
That's
like
not bad.
$15 a piece. Yes. Right?
Yes.
So when you're looking at that price compared to like some catfish that's $2.99 a pound. No hate on the catfish. Yeah, I love catfish.
Yes, but I said
So it looks expensive, but when you think about it, $15 and you put some sides with it, maybe you done spent $20 a person. That's not expensive.
That's not.
You go to a restaurant though, you're gonna pay $50 for a plate of sea bass. Yeah, but it's so easy to make. You sear it, finish it in the oven, and my mouth is watering right now.
Yeah, listen.
So moist. And,
really?
And light.
Because I either have it dry, not everything, but if I'm like chicken, I can overcook that too. But I'm saying like anything that's like white where I'm like, is that, so I'm either scared to overcook it or either I'm undercooking it.
You need a thermometer. Yeah, because
that's how you know the inside.
Well, until you know, thermometer is your best bet.
Is it?
Yes. Chicken is done at 165. Your fish is done at 145. Salmon, you can do a little under 145, so it's still moist in the middle. But you get you a thermometer. Yes, and they even have ones you can buy on. Maybe I need to start making some thermometers.
Yeah, you absolutely do. Like add that to really, because when I see people use thermometers on TV, I'm like, they're just trying to do something. You know what I mean?
No, it lets you know where your food is done, and they even have some that you can make Bluetooth, and you can program like what you're cooking, and they'll tell you. You put the thermometer in it, and it goes in the oven, and it tells you on your phone when it's ready. That's what you need.
Oh, that is good. They got that on Amazon?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Chef Jolie's version coming soon.
Yeah, Chef Jolie's, and I'm going to be the first one in line. What? Oh my God, thank you for that.
Yes.
Look, I need to stop one day at Target. Stop the night like, hey babe, I'm making sea bass tonight.
Yes.
Thank you. That's a really good. What y'all need to do is y'all definitely need to go subscribe to the YouTube channel. We'll put it down here. You need to subscribe to her YouTube channel and you need to subscribe to her Instagram.
Yes.
What is it? Follow her on Instagram, not subscribe. Sound like somebody grandma could subscribe to her Instagram. Follow her on Instagram. And I appreciate you so much for taking time out of your
this is fun.
Long day.
It's fun.
Ooh, to come I've had a very long day, but we'll talk about that on a different episode. To come and talk to me because people need to hear all of this stuff. I want to encourage people. I want people to feel like, Oh, girl, you think you about to die? Oh, girl, that ain't nothing. Just you good. I promise you. You know, your knees might be skinned. Like I said, wig might be crooked and all of that. But you gonna live, right? If you just keep pushing. So thank you. I appreciate you for the conversation. And then I'm gonna definitely have you back because I want to do like a round table.
Okay.
With women business owners, so y'all can
let's do it.
You know, get people the information.
Let's do it.
All right, y'all. Thanks for watching. I look forward to seeing y'all next week. Bye.
Bye.